Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for the second day of the Precious Metals and Critical Minerals Conference. Our next presentation is from District Metals. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Garrett Ainsworth. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of District Metals Corp., which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol DMXCF and on the TSXV under the symbol DMX. Welcome back, Garrett.
Hey, John. Thanks very much. It's great to be here. It's been a while. Late August of this year, I was giving a presentation on District Metals to the OTC Market Conference at that time, and we're talking about the hopes and dreams of the Swedish government lifting the ban on uranium mining, and then on November 5th of this year, so literally a month ago, the Swedish government actually did what they said they were going to do. They approved their vote to lift the ban on uranium mining. And why does this matter for District Metals? Well, because we own 100% of the Viken deposit. It's royalty free. And this is the largest undeveloped uranium deposit in the world, or another way to put it, it's the second largest uranium deposit after Olympic Dam. So very significant that we have a path forward now to explore and develop our uranium properties in Sweden. And let's get into it. Cautionary statement, you can find this on our website, our news releases. And for those of you that aren't familiar with District Metals, this is your Coles Notes right here. So, I mean, we have a team at District with a track record of success from exploration, development, through to production, also capital markets and marketing. We're very well rounded. We're obviously focused in Sweden with all of our projects. We have 5 uranium projects, with our Viken being the flagship. And we also have 2 base metal projects that we are not active on. But Sweden was ranked number 6 as a favorable jurisdiction to be in for mining by the Fraser Institute. That came out just fairly recently. As I mentioned, the Viken property, which contains the Viken Energy Metals deposit, it's the largest undeveloped uranium deposit in the world. But very importantly, it also contains significant quantities of vanadium, potash, molybdenum, nickel, copper, zinc. There's also strong potential for yttrium and other rare earth elements that I'll get into in more detail. And then, of course, we've got 4 other uranium projects that we're focused on in Sweden that include Sågtjärn, Nianfors, Ardnasvarre, and then the Alum Shale properties. These are all fairly well advanced from an exploration stage. A lot of them have seen drilling. For the most part, some of them have historical mineral resource estimates. So we were able to handpick these during the time that the uranium ban was on. So it was they were staked up at a very low cost. I won't get too much into the board here. I mean, the management board and advisory. I'm a geologist by training. Had a lot of success in the uranium with the Athabasca, with VP exploration at Alpha Minerals. They took a lead role in the discovery of the Triple R deposit. My company, Alpha Minerals, got bought out by Fission Uranium in 2013 for $189 million. I won an industry award for my efforts there. Then I was at NextGen from 2014 to 2018. When I joined NextGen, the market capitalization was $50 million. When I left in 2018, the market cap was $3 billion. Had a lot of success with the Arrow deposit discovery and other uranium mineralized zones all along the Patterson Lake corridor in the southwest Athabasca. Also won some industry awards for my time at NextGen too. So then got a hold of District as a shell company, and we initially entered Sweden as a base metal company in 2020, but then have turned our focus to uranium as of 2023. So we built up our technical team in Sweden. Both Hein Rat and Rodney Allen, they worked for Boliden for decades, have heaps of experience in Sweden. speaks Swedish, very importantly. And Marlis Yassin is our CFO, corporate secretary, who helps us maneuver through some very great things, like we got a listing on the NASDAQ First North Growth Market in Sweden. We have a very well-rounded board with Joanna Cameron being a lawyer by training. Doug Ramshaw is a technical background with also banking and extensive executive experience. Great Bear was his last really big win. Jonathan Chalice is a mine engineer by training, also was with banks and Ivanhoe Capital as well. So, and the advisory board, again, very well rounded off from geologists for Galen. Rob Chang was an advisor for uranium for years. Sophia Shane was with the Lundin Group, and Rita Bennett is president of the Discovery Group and helps us navigate the marketing and corporate communications world of this industry. So in terms of share structure, I guess right off the hop, we've got about 9 million Canadian dollars in the treasury. We have some warrants that are in the money, just under 10 million in total. They're all way in the money. If they get exercised, then they'll bring in another 2.7 million. We have some very significant shareholders on the registry that include strategic groups across North America. In Sweden, we probably have 20 to 25% of our shareholders are in Sweden, and we have some very large pockets of supporters and investors in Europe, very much in Belgium and also in Spain as well. So it's we're well rounded off with a high percentage of high net worths and institutional holding on the share registry, and we continue to seek out strong shareholders to bolster that even more. So just from a high level, our Sweden is a mining jurisdiction. It doesn't really get much better. Like I said, it's ranked number 6 in the world. It's got a huge history of mining that goes back to 400 BC, and that's actually at Garpenberg, down just to the north of Stockholm. Sweden is a powerhouse for metals for all of Europe, with a lot of iron going out, and zinc, lead, silver, gold, copper as well. And they've got some other projects that are in the works for more critical raw materials, because the EU really is looking to Sweden to supply critical raw materials for the EU and get away from supply that's coming from China or other potentially bad players that are out there. So some of the major companies in Sweden are Boliden. They run Garpenberg and Zinkgruvan mines. BHP is in Sweden. Agnico Eagle, Alkane Resources is up in the gold belt there. It's Skellefteå. It's a very straightforward process in terms of permitting. From what we've experienced, especially from the exploration side, there's a form for everything. There's a lot of support from governmental agencies, and for the most part, especially in the Bergslagen, there's a lot of understanding with mining in that region. And the Swedes, very importantly, are very keen on getting the full value chain, whether it's IKEA or base metals, polymetallic base metals. They have done this extremely well. So, and we see this potentially happening with the uranium nuclear industry in Sweden. So they've got 6 reactors that produce about 30% of their electricity. They're looking to build 10 more reactors by 2045. The moratorium, or the ban on uranium mining, went on in 2018, and now, of course, it was lifted on November 5th of this year. And the change in legislation will actually happen on January 1st of 2026. And we're very well situated with our 5 uranium projects in key uranium districts in Sweden. Again, with our flagship being the Viken property. So let's get into the Viken property. So it's in central Sweden. It's about an hour flight from Stockholm to Östersund, then about a 45-minute from Östersund to the project. Originally, the Viken deposit, which is in this pink outline here within the black mineral licenses, it was discovered in the late 1970s by the Geological Survey of Sweden. It basically didn't go much from there because no foreign companies were allowed in Sweden up until the 1990s. So Continental Precious Minerals was the last company to advance the Viken project in a significant way. They did lots of drilling, put out PEAs, resource estimates. They reached a market capitalization of 330 million. And then obviously they had to drop it when the uranium ban came into place. So we picked these up in early 2023. And then we've done a mineral resource estimate as of April of this year. And then we've flown airborne geophysical survey called MobileMT. And our next door neighbors are Aura Energy with their Hagen deposit, which is really just the west extension of our Viken deposit. All the same rock, same type of mineralization and everything. So the mineral resource estimate we did in April of this year for Viken, the bigger category is obviously inferred at 4.3 billion tons, 1.5 billion pounds of uranium, 24.3 billion pounds of vanadium, billions upon billions of pounds of molybdenum, nickel, copper, zinc. There's significant potash at 160 million tons. And then something that's really interesting is this yttrium. So at a grade of 528 parts per million, just recently I noticed prices of yttrium going for upwards of $137 per kilogram US, up to $230 US per kilogram. So this is something we'll be looking at in more detail. We'll also be assaying all of the rare earth elements, which is something that was not historically done. And I mentioned we flew an airborne survey here on the Viken property. So this was a very detailed survey. We flew, first over the Viken deposit itself and picked up a conductive response. And the reason why the mineralization is conductive is because the alum shell, the host rock, has graphite in it. So it really lights up because none of the other surrounding rock is conductive at all. So this technique worked better than I've seen, most geophysical surveys in my career. But what we're really excited about is that it picked up 9 more target areas from the MobileMT, and 3 of them, being target areas A, B, and C, are larger and stronger in response than the Viken deposit itself. So this strongly suggests that we have potential for multiple Viken deposits within the Viken property, which is pretty amazing considering the Viken deposit's already the largest undeveloped uranium deposit in the world. So with Viken, it's low-grade uranium. The vanadium is actually quite good grade. I'd say at about 0.25 to 0.3% vanadium, but the grade of uranium is about 170 parts per million uranium, which is comparable to what you see deposits in Southern Africa. And this is important because in the last uranium cycle, there was multi-billion-dollar monetizing events in Southern Africa. So Uramin was bought out for $2.5 billion US from Areva for the Trekope deposit. And then in 2012, Extract Resources was bought out by CGN, a Chinese state-owned nuclear company for 2.2 billion Australian dollars just for 90%, and I believe the other 10% was bought for 200 million Australian dollars. So during that same time period, the largest monetizing event in the high-grade Athabasca Basin was Rio Tinto buying out Hathor for about 650 million US dollars. And then they ended up selling that a couple of years ago to UEC for a loss at about 175 million. So it really does show that these low-grade uranium deposits, they can have a lot of value, a lot more than even high-grade assets. And I believe that's a function in part because you have more potential suitors that can handle low-grade uranium as opposed to the more technical high-grade uranium that can be up to 20%, anywhere between 2 and 20% in the Athabasca Basin. So putting this table together, because I'm getting a lot of questions that where should we be valued, and this really helps to visualize where we sit compared to our peers. So based just on our inferred resources, and our enterprise value, all in US dollars, we're at 8 cents per pound in the ground on the inferred side. And, versus our peers that are developers and explorers, we are way below the $3.44 per pound in the ground. Probably not likely we'll get to $3.44, but it definitely shows that we have a long ways to go, and things are looking up from here. I mean, even on the indicated side, we're below the peer average of $4.03. So let's hop into some of the other projects quickly here. So Sockjarn is another project we picked up. This is not alum shell. It's got about 1.14 million pounds of uranium at a grade of 0.07%, and it's got a bunch of drill intercepts that are wide open. That this really just needs to be revisited and stepped out from. And these deposit types would be similar to what you might see in the U.S. in some ways in terms of grade and thickness and whatnot. But this has not seen any substantial exploration since the 1970s or 80s. Nianfors is another project very similar to Sockjarn, almost 1,000 boulders with very good grades of uranium, averaging 0.16%. There's even yttrium in it. And I believe the highest grade boulder that has been detected at the Magyas-Badiet showing was 1.4%. So we actually flew an airborne survey on this property and picked up a ginormous radiometric anomaly to the east. So we staked up more ground with Nianfors claim number 3. And within Magyas-Badiet, I should mention the Geological Survey of Sweden had an estimate of about minimum 13 million pounds at grading from 0.07 to 0.14% U3O8. So it's never been drilled. That was based on outcrop and boulder fields at the time in the 1980s. So this is going to be a really fun project to get around to drilling. Ardnasvarre. Now this project, for myself, being an Athabasca Basin uranium geologist by training, is very exciting. So we see mineralization within the red rock, which is basement, and we see mineralization within this yellow rock, which is sandstone. Both rocks are the same age that you would find in the Athabasca Basin, and there is potential and there are indications of unconformity mineralization at our Ardnasvarre project, and very significant because you find high grades, obviously, at the unconformity. There are boulders in the area up to 29% uranium at Viopsjok. You've got a very solid boulder train that's coming from boulders that are at the unconformity that are mineralized with uranium. And then at Labas, there is a boulder train coming off that. That's more basement hosted. So this has not been properly explored for unconformity style mineralization, and we're in a really, really good position to do that work given the knowledge we have in the company. And then the alum shell properties is a consortium of many mineral licenses. I believe it's probably over 80,000 hectares now. We're gonna have to put out an update pretty soon about all the other mineral licenses that we've applied for as part of this package. And the objective here is we're trying to find another Viken deposit. So this is anywhere between 100 to 250 meters to the northeast of the Viken project. You can see we did a lot of the staking based on geological mapping, based on available data, the geophysical and geochemical data. And we actually flew these properties in the spring, summer with mobile MT survey, again, because the graphite in the alum shell really, really sticks out in a very obvious way. And what we're looking for is alum shell that's mineralized, that's shallow and also thick. And the mobile MT results that we have shows exactly these two parameters on all of the properties. So Osterkallen, for instance, which is a mineral license within the alum shell, we flew over it and found an anomaly that's 8 kilometers long by up to 3.5 kilometers wide, interpreted to be alum shell. It's never been drilled. It's under a thin veneer of cover. And given the size of it, I mean, this could definitely be another Viken deposit potentially, but we won't know until we drill it. This will be a priority target for us to drill next year. And then Malgomai, so we put news out on Malgomai just yesterday, so that's very good timing for today. The mobile MT anomalies here, the conductive anomalies that are all in the purple, these are gigantic. I'm actually really surprised at how well we staked up the ground, because it's very obvious that we encapsulated the majority of these mobile MT anomalies, except for B, we missed an edge. So we've actually added a mineral license application just to the west of B. And these are huge. These are like up to 20 kilometers long, by up to 5 kilometers wide. They're vast. So you could, I mean, if this is mineralized alum shale, if this is what it looks like, because it does compare very closely to the mobile MT results on the Viken property, then I mean, this Malgomai property itself has potential to host multiple Viken deposits. And it was interesting because I don't think the market quite believes it, the potential here, given the action on the share price. But these results from Mobile MT could not have worked better. And we've basically cross-referenced it and gotten the signature from the Viken deposit. And we're using that same signature to identify other potential Viken deposits at our alum shale properties, and it's worked. So it's been a really busy 2025. We've got probably another news release coming out on, like I mentioned, on some of the mineral license applications that we've put together. We're still going through all the mobile MT data to determine exactly where we're going to put drill permit applications. We won't lodge those till January, and we'll have news out on exactly what we're going to be doing in January as we're still sorting through the data. But from a high level, we're going to be looking at doing a preliminary economic assessment, probably within the Viken deposit itself, to make things go faster. And then concurrently, we'll look to drill some target areas within the Viken property. How many, I'm not quite sure right now, but we'll outline that in January. And then we'll also look to do some drilling at our alum shale properties at, say, Österkallen, also at Malgomai. And the time to get a drill permit in Sweden, it can be 6 weeks, or it can be up to 6 months. If the landowners have questions or concerns, then you need to work through a process. So that's kind of like what we're looking at for drilling next year. But with the extra ground that we picked up, we'll be flying more airborne mobile MT surveys in the spring of next year. And then our non-alum shale properties being Ardnasvarre, Sågtjärn, and Nineforce, we will, they've had drone radiometric and magnetic surveys on them that we flew just this past summer. So we'll be following up those results on the ground with mapping, sampling, prospecting with the scintillometer, and helping to refine drill targets on those three projects. But as I can see now, I think our main focus for drilling will be at the Viken property, and will also be on our alum shale properties as well. So it's exciting times ahead now that we have this clear path for uranium exploration and development in Sweden. So just to kind of summarize everything, what you get with District Metals is a very strong team with heaps of experience in uranium, base metals, but also just how everything works in Sweden in terms of permitting, community relations, social license, and moving things along. We've been in country for 5 years, so we're very well established. And then we've put together handpicked a portfolio of uranium projects, obviously during the uranium ban, which was very good. And we've got a great shareholder base that's very, very strong, and they know where we're going. I think there's some games probably going on with our share price over the last while, but hopefully we'll get through it and resume our upward trajectory on the other side. So that, yeah, that's all I have for the presentation. The contact information here, if you want to reach out to us, please do on this page with number and email. But I see that there are some questions that have come in. Wow, a lot of questions. I'm not going to get to all these because I only have 5 minutes. So let's start off with Stu. Yeah, okay, this one. Given the recent Swedish vote, you have significantly de-risked your Viken. As well, you have produced very impressive MobileMT survey results showing potentially multiple Viken deposits, yet your stock has sold off 50% in the past several weeks, largely from seemingly a motivated seller identified as anonymous. Your thoughts, please, about what's going on. Great question, and I was actually just kind of talking about that on one of the last slides there. So there was definitely a sell on news event when the Swedish government approved the vote to lift the uranium ban, a much larger sell on the news than I imagined. I think there's also been some games being played by potentially one or several hedge funds. And, I based that assertion on the fact that our short position went up to 2.2 million on November 14th. We're seeing a lot of bots action, like the buying and selling by anonymous is happening in 100 to 500 share lots to 1,000 share lots. So there's something going on and the volume's been very, very high. So it's